morning. Good morning. I hope you all are doing well. So, today we're just going to go over a couple of steps of how to prepare your business for COVID or for any type of downturn of the economy. So, the goal is to make sure that no matter what happens in the economy, no matter what's going on with you personally or with your business, that your business is able to thrive and to continue going and continue being in service. So, like Mari said, this is building a business that survives. So, we're going to talk about before the storm hit. So, any type of storm, hurricane, COVID, like no one knew about COVID at all. So, but this is where you can basically prepare your business no matter what is going on in the economy or in your life personally. Okay, so my name is Raven Simone Simon. I'm a CPA, but I'm also known as the money professional. So one of the philosophies that I live by as the money professional is being broke is hard, making money is hard, choose your hard. So with this, what I'm basically saying is every decision, whatever situation you're in comes down to a decision. You're either going to make a decision that I'm going to sacrifice what I have to do now to be able to make money in the future, and whatever the case may be. So that's what I teach. That's what I live, is everything comes down to a decision. So I am the owner of Simon Accounting Services, also known as SAS, and I am the author of the Good Money book. And I'm a dog mom to Bentley. So I have a Yorkie. His name is Bentley. He's 7. So he's kind of, he doesn't do much now, but his name is Bentley and that's my baby. So let's get right into it. So first, what does any business need to survive? Any business, whether you're in retail, whether you are manufacturing, whether you're a service-based business. And probably from this slide, you probably could already tell where I'm going with this. Any business needs cash to survive. Yes, we need clients. Yes, we need products. Yes, we need sales. But all of that comes down to what? Cash. We need cash to survive. So what I'm going to walk you through in these 3 steps, these 3 easy steps, is how to make sure you have enough cash for your business to continue thriving. So another thing I like to say is cash is king. I know a lot of people like to say, oh, well, I need credit, I need this. You do need those things, but above all, you need cash, okay? You need cash. So cash is king. So one of the ways that we can make sure that you always have cash is by utilizing cash pools. So if you're talking to a person about one-on-one financing, they may call this sinking funds. It's the same thing in a business, but in a business sense, we call them cash pools. So what are cash pools? The name kind of tells you what it is. It's literally a pool of cash. But more importantly, it's a savings account for your business, but it has a purpose. So it's not just your normal savings account. We may have a savings account for our business and we put money in there for anything. It's just like, well, this is just a part of my profits. This is just a cushion. The difference between a normal savings account and a cash pool is these cash pools have a purpose. So for instance, you may have a savings account or a cash pool account and it's for operating. So that's to make sure that you're able to cover your payroll expenses. If you're in retail or e-commerce, that may be so you can cover your inventory. If you are a stylist or a barber or any type of service-based business, that means that you may need to make sure that you can cover your head count as well as your rent and utilities. So operating is basically the money that you use to operate your business. That's one of the cash pools. The great thing about a cash pool is you can have as many as you want. So you can have up to 1,000 cash pools, 100 cash pools, but you need at least one cash pool. And that one cash pool is the operating cash pool. So if you see me looking over here, this is my notes over here. So that's why I'm looking over here. But again, so you need at least one cash pool, but you can have as many as you need. So how are they used? How do people use cash pools? So when you're in business and you're operating, okay, you look at your reports and you say, okay, this is my profit for the year. This is my profit for the month. This is my profit for the week, right? You can pick whatever frequency that you want. I say the more often you do it, the better off you are. So not waiting until the end of the year to try to transfer all these funds. If you do it weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, you will get into the rhythm of doing it. So what you basically do is look at your report, say, hey, this is my profit. But these are my costs, right? So with cash pools, you're going to be basing this off of your cost and not your profit. So that's the weird part. You're going to base it off your cost and not your profit. So what you're going to do is look at your costs and see how much it takes you to operate doing a month, doing a week, doing a bi-weekly, whatever frequency you choose. And that money you're going to set aside. So you're going to set aside into a savings account, into another checking account, whatever the case may be. And we'll talk about different savings accounts later, but you're going to set that amount aside. But you also need to figure out how much is going to make you feel comfortable. How much, if you say, okay, I know if I have this covered, I'm okay. I know if I have this covered, it doesn't matter what comes, I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, I have to close down. Right? So for me, that was 3 months of expenses. I knew if I can cover 3 months, I'm a service-based business, I'm an accountant. So my expenses are, my highest expenses are rent and overhead. Head count. Because with me, the more clients I bring in, the more personnel I have to hire. And that's the thing about a service-based business. You can only service as much people as you can a day that's within your bandwidth. With a retail, you can make money in your sleep. Like they can go to your website, they can order whatever they want, and then you wake up in the morning and you ship orders out. But service-based businesses are a little different because it's based off of bandwidth. So with my business, the more money I make, the more people I have to hire. So I have to make sure, in order for me to be able to keep that or to retain those revenues, I need to make sure I can pay the people, right? You know, if I have all these people coming to me asking me to do taxes, and I can't do their taxes, and I'm going to ask Susie, hey, can you come in and help me do taxes? Susie's going to want to get paid, okay? She may say, Raven, you're nice, but I need a paycheck, right? So I have to make sure I can cover my head count, and then I also have to make sure I can cover my rent for my office space. So I need some place to come in to be able to meet with clients and so forth. Now with COVID, that changed things. So we are very virtual right now, but I still have that cushion because even though we're virtual, I still have to pay rent at the office, right? So that's another thing about, that's why it's based off your cost and not your profit. Does that make sense for everyone? Okay, I see some head nods, great. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to how are they used. When you see your costs, you're gonna set that aside. Once you set that aside and you decided I need 3 months of these costs, I need 6 months, okay? You don't want to have too many months of costs because the money that you're putting aside is not being able to be used in your business. So you have to find a sweet spot, right? Like as a business owner, especially a small business owner, we take risk every day. So getting a little risky is nothing that we're shy of, but you can't pad your cash pool so much to where this money is not being used in your business, right? So pick a good number. People automatically go to 6 months. 6 months may be too much. Look at 3. For retailers, you can definitely have less than a service-based business. But in any type of service-based business, how many months or how can you say, okay, I know at least in 2 months, I'm going to have some sort of sale. I'm going to have some sort of income coming in. So look at that to kind of realize how much, or to kind of decide how much do I need to save? How many months, how many weeks do I need to save into this cash pool? And make sure you're not putting too much. Okay, so now we're going to go into who should use them or who should have them. And the short answer to this is everybody. Whether you're service-based, whether you're a retailer, whether you're a manufacturer, you need to have cash pools. A part of my introduction that I kind of glazed over, before starting SAS, I was a CPA in the industry world, so in corporate. So I worked for companies like Duke Energy and GE. And that is one thing that they did a lot. They had cash pools. So even the huge businesses that, you know, GE has a bunch of cash, Duke Energy has a ton of cash, they still use cash pools. And they even use cash pools. It was one person, let me tell you how much they use it. This could probably give you a little idea. They literally had one person who only tracked the cash pool movement. That's all they did. And that was their full-time job. And they got a salary for it, benefits and all, just to track cash pool. And what they did was, okay, how much what are our costs? What are our operating expenses? Do we have that cash available? Do we need to go borrow cash to make sure we have that cash available? That was their entire job, to track cash pools. And then my job as the accountant, I used to reconcile the cash pool because with larger companies, they will often lend to each other. Like Duke Energy has Duke Energy Kentucky and then Duke Energy Ohio. So Duke Energy Kentucky would sometimes lend to Duke Energy Ohio instead of them going outside to earn cash. So even the big businesses use cash pools because they know in order to survive, we need cash. We need cash. Okay. So is everybody good with this so far about what are cash pools? How are they used? Who should have them? Okay, great. We're going to go into the next step. So the next step is to try to reduce expenses while you are retaining revenue. So here's one thing a lot of business owners sometimes fail to do. As revenue increases, sometimes, most times, cost increases. And that is true, but the amount of the revenue increases should be smaller for the amount that the cost increases. For instance, if you're adding $1,000 to your revenue, you should not be adding $1,000 of cost, right? It should be smaller. If you're adding $1,000 of revenue, you should maybe add $250 of cost, $200 of cost. Not your revenues and your costs should not grow at the same rate. That's basically the bottom line there. Revenue and cost should not grow at the same rate. You should definitely have more revenue than you do cost, right? So, but how can I reduce my expenses but still retain that revenue? So with that same example, how can I add on $1,000 of revenue, but maybe add on $100 of cost or no cost, right? And when you add on no cost, that's more in getting into the lean operating processes. So first, let's go into the multiple revenue streams. So again, we're adding in more revenue, but we're going to try to not add in so much cost. So how can we do this? So when adding in multiple revenue streams, you need to go deep as opposed to going wide. So what I mean about that, whatever you're in business to do, you need to make sure that you hit every available revenue source in that business line before you start adding something totally outside of your realm. So for instance, a stylist. I had a lot of clients who are stylists. So they're hairstylists. What they do, they are a service-based business, right? So the amount of revenue that they are able to obtain is directly related to their bandwidth. If they're booked for the week, it doesn't matter if more people want their hair done, they can't do it, right? So here's one way that stylists are able to get their cash pools in order and as well as have like extra revenue streams. So they'll have their main service, which is doing hair. Then they may also offer an ebook that tells you about hair maintenance or hair growth, right? If you post anything about 10 ways to grow your hair, everybody's going to jump on that. Everybody wants to grow their hair. Everybody wants to make sure they're retaining their length. Or if you post an ebook about this is how you should maintain your styles when you can't see your stylist, right? So that's another revenue stream. And with that revenue stream, with the ebook may be $8, it may be $10. So what you're going for here is low cost but high quantity. And you're increasing your revenue, but you're not increasing your cost because the only thing you have to do is make the ebook. It's in your head, right? This is what you're in business to do. So all you have to do is write the ebook and then put it on your website. And the only costs you'll probably have are their transaction costs to pay Stripe or to pay Square, right? But you're getting in more revenue than your expenses. So you're not really increasing your costs, but you're increasing your revenue. Well, this helps a lot of my clients during COVID when we had to shut down stylists or salons. They were still able to make money basically off their ebooks. And I even had some who did not even have any type of digital products. I was like, you need to create a digital product. You need to create a digital product. Hey, did you create a digital product? And that's literally how a lot of them stayed afloat during I think it was 2 or 3 months that salons had to close down. Another thing, you can use the products that you use on your clients. You can sell those. So my stylist, she washes my hair and my hair is so soft, it's easy to be detangled. And then when I do it at home, it's like I had a hot broom mop on the top of my head. And I was calling her like, I can't detangle my hair. The first thing she said, what product did you use? And I was like, Suave? She was like, no, we don't use Suave. So I had to then go buy the products that she used on my hair from her. And she got a commission or she got a sale. Some stylists actually make their own products. So when you make your own product, that whole sale goes to you as opposed to maybe partnering with Paul Mitchell or another hair product line to where they'll give you a commission off of it. So you can do that as well. You can also sell the tools that you use. So with a straightener, I went and bought this straightener and she was like, that is too hot for your hair. Your hair is too soft for that. And I'm like, my hair is tangled. I don't think it's soft at all. But she was like, it's too soft. That's too hot. You need this. This is going to burn your hair out. So she was able to she made plenty money off of me doing COVID because I was able to buy her ebook saying how to maintain my hair when I can't see my stylist. I bought the products to actually wash my hair with, and I bought the tool to straighten my hair with. So and that's just one example for a stylist. You could do the same if you're a barber. You could do the same. I do the same as an accountant. I have folks who say, okay, I don't need a full-time accountant. So I have a course that you can take to teach you how to do the basics of bookkeeping. So whether I'm up, whether I'm asleep, whether I'm out of town, you can go buy that course and learn how to do your bookkeeping if you're like, I'm not ready to have a full service bookkeeper on my staff just yet. Okay, so anybody can do it. Service-based business can do it. Retailers can do it, right? Okay, so that's, remember, with multiple revenue streams, you need to go down as opposed to going wide. And you need to make sure as you're increasing your revenue that you're not also increasing your cost, okay? And if you have multiple revenue streams, it doesn't matter what happens, right? It doesn't matter if you're sick and you can't get into the salon, or if I'm sick and I can't go into the office to actually do your taxes. I'll have someone else to do your taxes for me, so that's my head count. Or I can have an e-course to teach you how to do your own taxes. So you're still giving me a payment, I'm just not actually doing it. So that allows me to, one, keep different sort of clients because you have different level of clients, you have different level of clientele, and I'm also able to make money in my sleep. So if the world is shut down and we're all stuck in the house again, you're going to take that course and say, well, since I have time now, I can learn how to do my own taxes, right? So the other part is the constant contact with clients or customers. So when I say constant contact, you need to find a way to always be in contact with your clients or your customers. Because if you have these multiple revenue streams, if you're not in contact with them, they may not even know how to pay you, right? They don't know that you even offer these things. So constant contact with your clients or customers is email marketing. You probably hear this so much now, but it's very important. Email marketing, or what people have even started to go to as well, is text marketing. Because here's the thing, and here's one of the main reasons why we should not rely on social media. One, someone can hack your account and then all your clients and your customers are gone. Two, the platform itself can crash. That happened, I think, like last year. Instagram crashed and everybody was freaking out. Here's the bad thing. I didn't even know it crashed. I was like, what? It crashed? Y'all couldn't get on? Because I'm not on Instagram that often, right? I am a lot more now, but I didn't even know Instagram crashed. So the platform itself could crash. I don't know if you've heard about this back and forth with TikTok. One day TikTok is here, the next day TikTok is going to be banned. And I heard so many people say, well, I have like 100,000 followers on TikTok. Well, do you have 100,000 email addresses? And then here's the other thing. When we have a huge economy turned down, or something like COVID, where it brings in a lot of emotional distress, people get off of social media. Right? I know for me, when COVID first hit, I took like a month off of social media. I had to get a social media manager. It was like, can you just post for me? Because I needed to make sure I kept that consistency. But one thing about it, every Monday, Sunday night, I would sit down and write my newsletter out that would go out on Monday. And my clients didn't even notice that I was taking off of social media because they still had a contact with me through my newsletter. Right? So have that email marketing or that text message marketing is a lot better than trying to rely solely on social media. Yes, social media should be used, but it should be used to grow your email marketing. It should be used to grow your brand awareness, but it should not be your sole line of communication to your client or to your customer. Okay? And then also, so now we're going to get into the lean operating processes. So this is the part that you really dive deep into, making sure that you can retain your revenue, but reduce your expenses. So lean operating processes. This is really easy for service-based businesses. A service-based business, if you ever research, they should have the highest profit margins, sometimes 80 to 90%, because of the lean operating processes that they can use. So what the lean operating processes pretty much says is, how can I buy, like the cost? How can I have this one cost but spread it across multiple clients or spread it across multiple customers? So again, if we go back to the stylist, She may buy a flat iron or a straightener for $200, but she can use that on multiple clients. So that's one cost, but she's getting multiple revenues for it from that one cost. And the more revenue she make, her cost doesn't increase for it, right? Now let's think about this with retailers. If they have a cost of the shipping bags, I've seen a lot of people have like branding shipping material. Every single time they make a sale or order, they incur a cost, which is the shipping materials. So the only way to make sure that that is lean out is to make sure you buy those in bulk, right? And you can spread them across. I had a retail client this week last week we were doing inventory and we were breaking down all of her costs and all of this. And literally her cost to ship an item, as in the packaging material, was like less than 1 cent. That's very lean. And she got that way because she buys in bulk. So when she purchased her branding material for shipping supplies, she doesn't purchase 25 or 50. She purchases 1,000, right? So she may get 1,000 for $100, or she may get 1,000 for $50, or whatever the case may be. So when you're a retailer or a manufacturer, you need to purchase in bulk instead of trying to purchase everything small, right? Everything as the order comes in. The same thing, excuse me. She also took advantage of the USPS, that flat rate shipping box, right? If it fit, it ships. So with that, she was able to create flat rate shipping. Anything ships for $7, $7.95. So if you go in her store and you buy 10 items, they're going to ship for $7.95. If you buy one item, it's going to ship for $7.95. So one way that we started to do it, okay, paying $7.95 for 10 items is not that big of a deal as opposed to paying $7.95 for one item. So what we started to do was we would have add-ons. So when you go to checkout on her site, it'll say, hey, do you want this t-shirt? Hey, what about this hat? So it's what we call upsells. So having upsells to make sure even if they purchase one item, you can spread that cost, that shipping cost, over multiple items by trying to upsell to them. So that's another way to make sure you have a lean operating cost. Another way for retailers or anybody who's in manufacturing or anyone who has to source materials, right? So you have to go buy something before you can sell something, that sort of thing. You need to have price contracts in place with your manufacturers or with your suppliers. And what this is going to do is this is going to lock you in at a certain price. Now, it's pros and cons of being locked in at a certain price. So the pro is if they ever raise their prices, it doesn't affect you. So you're able to keep your costs constant. That's going to help you when you're trying to manage your cash pools and so forth, right? But if they ever run a sale, you don't get that sale price. So this is when you have to kind of negotiate, right? If you normally pay $7 for this roll of material, say you make dresses or you make clothing, and you always pay $7 for this roll of material. You don't want to go into the price contract and say, hey, I want to keep my price at $7. You want to say, hey, I love your material. I love your shipping. It gets here on time. Can we go into a price contract for $6.50? Can we go into a price contract for $6? What that does is help you in case they do run a sale. Even if they run a sale for $5.50, you're missing 50 cents. Right? That may not be a big deal. But if the sale was $5.50 and you went into contract for $7, you're missing $1.50. So does that make sense? It depends. When you go into the price contract, never go into the price contract at the amount that you currently pay. It needs to be a different amount. It needs to be a lower amount. And the way that you get people, and you may say, well, why would people agree to this? Because you're telling them every time I buy material, I'm coming to you. Every time I need this, I'm coming to you. And what that makes, it helps them to be able to say, okay, I know I'm going to have this revenue. A lot of times with price contracts as well, they may make you do a certain quantity a month, right? They could say, okay, I'll give this to you for $6.50, but you have to order 100 yards every single month. You need to make sure that your business can sustain that order amount. Which all you have to do is look back through your history and say, okay, well, I ordered 200 yards this month, but it was 50 yards this month. And you can see if your average comes out to that amount that they want you to do with the price covenants or the price contracts. So price contracts is what the large businesses use to make sure they are saved or protected from inflation. For instance, hand sanitizer. Before COVID hit, hand sanitizers was 50 cents, two for $1 or 99 cents. They were cheap. COVID hit and now it became a hot commodity. Sanitizer went up to $3.99, $15, $16. When I was actually traveling through Tennessee, I bought a container of hand sanitizer for $20. Never thought I would ever need to buy hand sanitizer for $20. And it was the natural one and it didn't dry my hands out. So I was like, oh yeah, I want this. I'm gonna pay the $20. So it helps guard you against inflation. If you are one of those people who needed alcohol to do your products, if COVID hit and you needed alcohol to create your product, your cost just skyrocketed for alcohol. And because your cost skyrocketed, you can't just all of a sudden raise your prices, right? You have to be sensitive to your consumer. So having the price covenants help you with in regards to inflation or to price increases. You're covered, you're protected. So that's one of the lean operating strategies as well. Is everybody clear on those 3 topics? Okay, I see some head nods. Okay, we're gonna go on to the 3rd topic. So the 3rd topic is having up-to-date bookkeeping and taxes. Okay, this is huge. So I'm gonna tell you a quick story that I was supposed to tell you in the beginning, but I forgot. So I had a client who came to me. She was a retailer. I was her. She wasn't my client before 2020 started. She actually became my client during COVID, right? Which is strange, I know. But she became my client during COVID. She needed help putting together her PPP application. So she wanted to apply for the PPP loan as well as the EIDL grant and loan as well. So, you know, the PPP was the Paycheck Protection Program. She had 5 people on payroll, not including herself. So 5 people, not including herself. And she basically wanted to do the PPP for them. So I said, okay, send me your payroll tax records. Send me this, send me that. She couldn't find the stuff. She didn't have it. She said, I run payroll and I thought that was it. So she didn't know that that the taxes that she was taking out of the people's paycheck was supposed to be paid to the IRS, was supposed to be paid to the Department of Revenue, right? Okay, she's a retailer. So sales tax, she was getting sales tax. She wasn't remitting this to the Department of Revenue. So she had, even though she had 5 employees, so she qualified for the PPP, none of her payroll records were in order for me to even get started. So we are scrambling, trying to get all of these things filed, trying to get the right paperwork. And then what happens? PPP stops. It's like, it's done. Her bank was like, we're not even accepting any more applications. So then we had to try to go find other banks. Okay. The EIDL, we went in and for every employee, you're supposed to get $1,000. So she had 5, not including herself. So just because she didn't pay herself on payroll, she was out of $1,000, which may not be a big scheme. She still got the $5,000 for everyone else, right? So then when we went to go do the EIDL, we needed all the paperwork. We needed the tax records, your Schedule C, your bookkeeping. What was your income? Sis didn't have that either, right? She was able to pull me something from Shopify to show me her sales. And I mean, sis was in 6 figures of sales, but we had nothing to track her cost. So I was like, this is not your net income. They need your net income. So we had to try to calculate the net income. We had to try to do her taxes. All of this before we can apply for the EIDL loan. What happens with the EIDL loan? They stopped doing the grant. So in the middle of us just trying to get everything together, she missed out of $6,000. She just decided, hey, let's not even apply for the PPP. Let's see, can we do the EIDL? We actually, after we finally got her records together for that, we applied for the EIDL. And then what happened? The Schedule C that she had someone else do for 2019, they wrote off everything imaginable. Every single thing was written off. So her profit on her Schedule C was like $2,000 or $3,000. And like I said, 6 figures. She was making 6 figures. But her profit was this really small amount. So for the EIDL, there was like, well, you didn't have any type of COVID hardship because you was already not making money. So how can we say that you're going to all of a sudden been making money this year? So just to say all of that, sis got nothing. And she had a strong business, as in she had strong sales. Her costs were not even as high as the person who filed her taxes made them out to be, not her operating costs. But like I said, they wrote off every single thing imaginable. So I say all of this to say this: you cannot you cannot manage what you cannot measure, right? That's the one thing with bookkeeping. The one, if you caught the trend or the similarity and everything that I said before this, it says, look at your reports. I say, look at your reports and see how much your cost is. Look at your reports and see how much your profit margin is. If you don't have reports, what are you going to look at to figure out how much do I need to put in my cash pool? Well, how much do I spend on yarn a month to be able to go into this price covenant? If you're not tracking these things, you have no way to manage it. You have no way to even say, this is what I need to do. This is how much I need to be covered in case an emergency happens. This is how much I spend on hand count. You have no idea because you're not measuring anything, right? So having up-to-date bookkeeping and taxes can help you when something hits, when anything hits. If you're going for a loan, right? It doesn't even have to be a natural disaster. It could be something personal. You can go in and say, well, I have to go have surgery, so I'm going to be out for a while. Or I'm pregnant, so I have to deliver the baby at some point. I'm going to be out for a while. If you're a service-based business, who's going to show up for you, right? Like if I have a child or if I'm sick, who's going to show up and do people's taxes? I have head count for that, right? But what if I don't? Head count still can't do the amount that I can do, right? So somebody's going to get dropped somewhere. That's my point. If you're in retail, who's going to ship your orders? Who's going to deal with customer complaints? Who's going to deal with customer inquiries? Who's going to make sure the discount code is working correctly, right? So whatever business that you're in, you're going to have to make sure you can cover with anything happens, whether it's a personal emergency or whether it's a global or a national emergency. You need to be covered. But the way to start covering, and I kind of put this in this order on purpose, because this actually is first. You have to do all of these things before you can do your cash pools, before you can start going into price covenants, before you can actually start saying, okay, I'm going to take this cost and spread it over multiple clients. If you don't know the cost and you don't know what cost is actually related to what part of your revenue, you can't do those things, right? Now, here's the great thing. You don't have to do this. Like this, if you're in business, not in business to be a bookkeeper, you can hire a bookkeeper. If you say, okay, I don't need a bookkeeper full time, you could take a bookkeeping class just to learn the part that you need to learn, right? The other part, you have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. When all of these grants came out, they came out like this. It was like PPP, EIDL grant. And then the states then started making grants. And then other corporations started making grants. And anytime you're asking someone for money, they want to know what you do with your money, right? Just like if you go personally to go buy a car, that was like, what kind of money do you have? Let me see your bank statements. Let me see your tax returns. It's the same thing in business. No one's going to give you money freely without seeing what you do with your own money, right? And when I say, what are you doing with your own money? Those are your financial statements. That's your profit and loss. They want to see how you're managing costs, how you're making revenue, right? Cost is a big driver with anything business related when it comes to loans or grants. Why? Because getting revenue is not that hard, right? If you're good in what you're doing, if you're marketing correctly, if you're out there where your clients are, you're probably going to get a sale. May not be a lot of sales, but you're going to get a sale of some sort. But the big part in making sure that you're a business owner, and what separates the good business owners from the great business owners, are the ones who are able to control their costs. Are the ones who's able to take the revenue and invest it back into their business repeatedly, right? Repeatedly. So making sure that you're able to control your costs. So you have to stay ready. These grants had 2 weeks deadlines, 3 weeks deadlines. And then when it's a national or a global pandemic like it was, even though the funds for PPP and whatever, that was on a national level, you were competing with everyone in the US for these funds. You don't have time to put your records together at this moment. Your records should have been together before this part, at least a portion of them, right? So you have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And all of that ties into the point of small things matter. I know when opening a business, the furthest thing from your mind is bookkeeping. The only time you're probably going to think about taxes is December to January. Okay, I got to file taxes. That's the furthest thing from any owner's mind. I'm in business to do bookkeeping, and I literally have my sister do my bookkeeping because I'm like, I'll get mine later. Let me focus on my clients. So we're all guilty of it. We are constantly putting bookkeeping and taxes to the back of our mind, but it definitely needs to be at the forefront of your mind. Small things matter. Small things matter. So if you want to see all the services that I offer and the pricing, you can go to www.simonaccounting.co. My email address is info@simonaccounting.co. And then I'm also on IG and Facebook at Simon Accounting. And on these two platforms, that's where I do a lot of basic knowledge videos telling you how to run your better business with taxes, bookkeeping, just general information. I share a lot of resources on these two platforms. So you can definitely like and follow us there.